Governor. In Sutter County, there's a legal challenge or a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of your executive order. The lawsuit says that you overstep your authority under the Constitution, and you made new law, which violates the separation of powers. Were you ruling by fiat, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, and will you be more measured in the future?
We did what we felt was appropriate, certainly within the framework of the constitutional authority that is invested in this office.
Nerderotic.com.
As each day passes, I feel much better about my decision to leave California with my family. Unfortunately, I can't leave fast enough. Judge limits California Governor Gavin Newsome's power during COOF. The story dropped a couple of days ago, and while it's music to my ears, it comes 6 or 7 months too late. Sacramento, California, a Northern California county judge has preliminarily ordered Governor Gavin Newsom to stop using directives related to the COOF that might interfere with state law. Sutter County Superior Court Judge Sarah Heckman, believe all women, tentatively ruled that one of the dozens of executive orders Newsom has issued overstepped his authority and impinged on the state legislature and pissed all over the constituency of California. I added that last part. One of the things I'm grateful for is your support through all of this. You guys have been brilliant. And please, at this time, because there is something weird going on at YouTube, make sure you are still subscribed to the channel if you've come across this video. If you haven't done so, please consider doing so and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And please do this with your favorite YouTuber as well. I'm sure they would appreciate it as much as I do. I also appreciate all of the DMs and emails I get from you guys when it comes to the insanity of California, and it's daily at this point. And when you send me articles like San Francisco is the model city for the COOF, you ask me how I feel about it. Or you ask, how does Mrs. Nerdrotic feel about stuff like this? Well, yet we do not act out on these thoughts. We do not have the desire to tear down a business or burn down a neighborhood and destroy somebody else's lives. We decided to act like adults, assess the situation, and get the fuck out. And we have a lot of company, and I know not everyone can do that, and I'm truly sorry. But as each day passes, we see the insanity of California. Now, don't get too excited about Gavin Newsom's powers being thwarted momentarily. It's the second time a judge in the same county has reached the same conclusion, which runs counter to other state and federal court decisions backing the governor's emergency powers. An appeals court quickly stayed the earlier order in June. Yes, this has been done before, and it was immediately shot down, and I'm guessing this one will be too because the governor has a lot of friends in this state. Heckman's decision will become final in 10 days unless Newsom's attorneys can raise new challenges. Newsom did not immediately comment or say if he will appeal because he will confidently do so and win because we live in a one-party controlled state. The case centers on a single Newsom executive order in June requiring election officials to establish hundreds of locations statewide where voters can cast ballots in the November election. And remember, all of this is done for safety. But lawmakers subsequently approved the same requirement, and the judge's decision will have no effect on Tuesday's election. She acted in a lawsuit brought by Republican Assemblyman James Gallagher and Kevin Kiley, who said Newsom, a Democrat, was single-handedly overriding state laws in the name of keeping Californians safe. The governor has issued 3 executive orders during the current state of emergency, specifically regarding the November 3rd, 2020 general election, and has issued more than 50 different executive orders changing numerous California statutes since the state of emergency was declared. Essentially, Gavin Newsome isn't a king. Lawmakers of both political parties have criticized Newsome for not properly consulting with them for issuing sweeping orders and budget decisions. And this is what happens when you put a San Francisco politician in charge of a state. He starts treating the state like San Francisco, which is a different planet from anywhere else. Just ask them. South Park had it right.
Yeah, it's like San Francisco is more of a European city, like Paris or Milan.
Butters, are you there? I'm here, Eric. I've started to enter the smoke.
And let's go back to San Francisco briefly. After losing 54% of their business, some of the 42% remaining were having to board up their windows for possible civil unrest. Peaceful protesting. San Francisco was recently by the LA Times called the model city for the coup, saying that if the rest of the country had acted like San Francisco, 50,000 people would have died instead of 200,000. This expert is one doctor from one hospital in San Francisco, and he pulled that number out of his ass, and there's no way to prove it. One thing we can prove is if the rest of the country did things like San Francisco, they would also have lost half of their businesses and see crime rise 42%. For whatever reason, the coup has never really been a problem in San Francisco. There was never any real numbers spike, yet the city has remained closed, decimating industries within that city and multiple small business. And let's not even talk about hospitality and tourist-related businesses, where business has dropped 67%. The schools remain closed, but that's okay. Gavin Newsome's 4 kids are back in private school. So while the remaining businesses who have only been allowed to open at limited capacity in most cases brace for possible civil unrest, which hasn't happened yet, thankfully, and the possibility of another lockdown, don't worry, Gavin Newsome has a solution for you.
One of the most pressing and important issues the city, or rather state, needs to face is the state of small businesses, hampered and hammered by this pandemic.
Initially, sure, when we didn't know much about it, but I would say it's more hampered by local politicians wanting to remain in office. But please continue.
In fact, by one estimate survey recently that came out, 44% of businesses in this state, small businesses, are feeling vulnerable to the pressures of this pandemic, so much so that they believe they are likely to close.
Is that 44% of the ones that are left? Because we've already lost a third of our business.
And I was one of the lead authors on this particular bill, which is SB 1447, and it establishes a hiring tax credit.
Small businesses saved in California. That's right. Chairman Newsome and Senator Caballero's big solution was to offer a $1,000 tax credit and extended loans, partially based on federal funds. I have a question, Chairman Newsome and Senator Caballero. Why would a business take the risk of rehiring an employee to get that $1,000 tax credit when they're only allowed by you to be open at limited capacity? I have another question, Chairman Newsome. How do you expect businesses to take extended loans or re-sign leases when the threat of being shut down is looming once again while they are open at limited capacity? Excuse me, Chairman Newsome, I have another question. How do you expect a business to hire someone, especially in a town like San Francisco, when there's no one to hire? I have another question. How do you expect a business to rehire someone if they're not open anymore? Hey, babe, it's me. Yeah, let's pack our shit and go back to San Francisco and reopen your salon. You can sign a new 5-year lease in a city that probably will close down again. But Gavin Newsome said that if you hire people back, you can get a possible $1,000 tax credit per employee. I'll pack right now.
82% of people that have applied for that iBank loan program, accessing the $125 million. 82% are women and minority-owned businesses. That's exactly why we designed this program. It's exactly who we were targeting.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
And you know Gavin Newsome couldn't get through a press conference without virtue signaling. Unfortunately, as always, that's all it ever was. My wife owned a business. She's a female. She also co-owned it with a member of the LGBTQ community. Everyone has been affected. White, black, Hispanic. They have all been targeted by the overreaching California government. There was a solution, and they've had time to come up with one. We could have reopened the economy while protecting the vulnerable. Never said the coof wasn't real. That time has passed because the California politicians always had another lockdown in their back pocket. No big deal. It's just a few thousand more businesses. Then we can reshape California in the way we like it.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
2020 is going to be the most dissected year for the rest of our lives. We're all going to be looking back on it, and the irony is not lost on me. There are clear winners: Amazon, big tech, Walmart, centralized government, politicians. There are clear losers: Hollywood celebrities who supported those politicians, the poor movie theaters, possibly Disney, and I couldn't even get to that. There are clear innocent losers, small businesses, and hopefully it's not you and I in the end. Despite all that, I can promise you Mrs. Nerdrotic and I are not going to quit. We don't do nihilism. We don't do black pills. We're going to keep fighting. Freedom is worth it. And despite all the adversity, we've been having a lot of fun doing this, and that's thanks to you. And I hope you have managed to do the same. I hope you are all safe out there. No matter what happens, I can promise you there'll be another video and another live stream. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next video.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.